You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Yeah, that's right. It's autumn now, or if you're one of our American listeners, fall. And that's why I can't stop falling over. Because everything in autumn or fall is very slippery, isn't it? Because of fallen slippery leaves everywhere, or because everything's been rained on and it's slippery, or because it's got slippery leaves that have been rained on, and then also like a dog's pooped on them, and then they've got all slippery as well. And just everything's slippery. It's like the world's most disgusting, unpleasant ice rink. But I don't think they'd have this event in the Winter Olympics, would they? You know, like people just skating around on leaves and dog poo. I suppose that's why we need an Autumn Olympics, isn't it? You could have skating on leaves, you could have running home because it's suddenly very rainy, and you could have trying to get things done before it gets dark, which is really hard because I think it gets dark about 5 minutes after the sun comes up now. Or maybe I just haven't turned the lights on in here. Hang on. Yeah, that is better. Actually, I don't know why there are leaves, rain or dog poo in our Comedy Club for Kids studio, but I can only guess that one of you sent them in. Or maybe Linda brought them in as a treat. Linda! Who is Linda? Anyway, now I've pretended to pick myself back up from pretending to fall over, welcome to Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast for all ages from 2. I hope you're having nice autumn times. I've been really enjoying dressing up all warm with my hat, scarf and gloves and then going outside and being too warm and having to take them all off again, but then being too cold and then getting soaked because I haven't worn my rain jacket. It's brilliant fun. Wait, maybe there are leaves and rain and dog poo in here because maybe I'm actually out there. That would explain a lot, like why sometimes when I'm recording this, people walk past and say things like, "Why are you in our garden?" Or, "Get out of the way, please, we're having a picnic and you've trodden on all our sandwiches." They say that sort of thing. I always assumed they were trespassing in the Comedy Club for Kids studio, but now I think about it, maybe that's why I've never needed a key to get in, and it's always cold, and sometimes a squirrel takes my biscuits. This is very curious. I will have to investigate, but wait, how did I turn the light on? Curiouser and curiouser. Anyway, thanks for all your lovely reviews of the show, brilliant emails, of which I've had several, and even this past week I've had some from droopy sigh-mutterers, grown-ups, saying how their stinky scamp-scrabblers, children, have been enjoying the show. Thank you for letting me know, grown-ups, though I do hope you asked your children's permission before using the computer to send us an email, and I hope they helped you spell any of the more difficult words. Don't forget, if you do enjoy the show, you can send us in anything you like, whether that's questions that need to be answered, jokes, thoughts, or like Beatrix and Lila, their concerns about naughty potatoes. Thanks so much for that, you two, and I hope you've managed to get them dealt with now. You can send in anything you like to podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk, but do ask your droopy sigh-mutterers, grown-ups, to help you, and grown-ups do ask your children just what a computer is, because I know you're really old and you're used to sending messages on a weasel or by writing it on a rock and putting it in the sea. Though I do get those when they wash up at the studio sometimes. That does happen if you're indoors, right? That happens in most people's homes. I don't think it means I'm outside. Oh, I'm really not so sure anymore. I will investigate if I'm outside or not, and I may ask this magpie that's decided to peck at my leg, just in case they know. Meanwhile, you there, you need to get to this week's importantest bit.
These autumn leaves are out of here.
On this week's podcast, I have brilliant guest Keith Farnan, also known as Keith, the only man to have seen a worm's teeth. Keith Farnan, owner of at least one pan. Keith, the top scorer in the last 5 international team croissant lobbying leagues. And of course, as all our listeners will know you, founder of the Nothing There Festival, where thousands of people don't arrive to a field every year and absolutely nothing happens there whatsoever. How you doing, Keith? It's great to have you on the show.
I'm good. First of all, the Nothing There Festival happens every single day in different fields around the country. For those of you who are interested, anytime you find a field and you look into it and you see nothing's happening, that's not nothing. That is my festival. It's called the Nothing There Festival. The less that is there, the more I am there. That's all I'll say. It's a very exclusive festival. If you want to know any more about the Nothing There Festival, you can't find our website because there's nothing there. That's the Nothing There website. That's www.nothingthere.nothing.there. So you'll
That's
find out more about
amazing.
the festival there.
It's such an impressive thing to put together. I mean, Keith, I just have to check though. Is it if someone spots it and goes into that field, have they then ruined the festival by being in the field, meaning that something is there?
Well, no, the wonderful thing about the Nothing There Festival is it's like a rainbow. And the closer you get to the Nothing There Festival, it moves away from you because it's an optical illusion.
Wow.
So you step into the field and the next door festival is incredibly quick, and it goes to the field over. So you're never actually in the Nothing There Festival. You're looking at the Nothing There Festival, wishing you could be part of the Nothing There Festival. Because let me tell you, there is not a person on this earth or off of this earth. If aliens landed, the first thing they would do, in fact, I think they have gone to the Nothing There Festival, and everyone's gone, there's no such things as aliens. That's because they're at the Nothing There Festival and nobody can see them. That's all it is.
Wow. It's amazing because I don't know how you came. How did you come up with it? What was the thinking?
Well, I was just staring into a field one day, and somebody said to me, "What are you doing?" And rather than like say to them, oh, I'm just sort of staring into the field, I said, well, obviously, it's the Nothing There Festival. I'm this is my festival. Everyone really enjoys it, and I walked away, and the person behind me started ringing their friends, going, "Hey, you're not going to believe this. I'm here in Watford, and there's a festival on." And they were like, "What festival?" "It's called the Nothing There Festival." And they were like, "What's there?" As far as I can see, it's nothing. And then they asked me, they said, "What's he wearing?" "He's wearing the Emperor's new clothes." "Really? Is he actually wearing the Emperor's new clothes?" That's what he said. I've read the story. So it's the Nothing There Festival. You have to wear the Emperor's new clothes when you go there. But if you go there, nobody will see you anyway because there's nothing there, and the festival moves on.
It's amazing. It's just become so popular around the world, and in fact all around the universe, especially in all those bits of space where there's nothing there. So yeah, really.
We have expanded. There was obviously, you've heard a lot about all these space launches by companies. They're trying to catch up with us. Various companies have been launching rockets into space to try and catch up with the Nothing There Festival. In fairness, it's quite impossible now because the Nothing There in space is an infinite festival. So it began a long time ago, like before Saturday, and it ends sort of like, in at least 2 or 3 years' time when nobody will care anymore about the festival. The merchandise for the Nothing There Festival. I mean, can I tell you, you can actually buy I can't even show you it. It's the biggest nothing you've ever seen, and it's so expensive. Like if you look up as far as you can see, that's one of the most expensive Nothing There items you can buy. It's a very exclusive statue of the Nothing There founder, myself. And it's shaped in such a way that you can't quite see it. It drops off into the horizon.
And you said it's very expensive. How much would it be to buy nothing?
It's probably like there's one of these. It's a Bitcoin. It's at least one, and we don't call it a Bitcoin at the Nothing There Festival. It's a Bytecoin. It's a Bytecoin. You get a coin. They're very specific coins, and you take a byte out of it, and that's a Bytecoin. There's a lot of talk about Bitcoin on the internet, but it's a Bytecoin. You bite into the coin, and it's not one of those chocolate coins. Like you really like if you bite into it. There's about 10 of those coins around the country at the moment. They're very rare, and if you can get one of those Bytecoins, we will take that off of you, and we will give you nothing. Or if you bring us some magic beans, we like magic beans as well. Apparently, there's a whole new market in beanstalks. Who knew that was a thing? But yeah.
Wow. Well, better than getting a cow, though, isn't it? It's always better than getting a cow from the market. Get a beanstalk. That's what.
Well, it's funny you say getting a cow from the market, because today I really hurt my calf muscle, and I figured out what happens when you hurt your calf muscle and why it's called the calf muscle. Because when you hurt your calf muscle, you go moo.
Oh no!
I know. I can't even imagine what would happen if you hurt your cow muscle. I mean, I don't know what would happen then.
Do you think cows have always got really sore legs then? Is that why they're always complaining? Just because we always see them standing in fields, and they must just be going, "Oh, my legs." Oh,
I think they're too. I think cows just make a noise so they don't have to go to the gym. I think calves are the ones who really make the effort and go to the gym, and they build up the muscle, which is why it's called the calf muscle. I think we give cows too much credit because they give us milk, and I think they give us milk to quieten us and keep us quiet, so we don't talk about the fact that they don't go to the gym, and they should. Yeah, there's a whole other side to that argument.
Wow, he did it.
A
He did
whole
it. He went
hey
there.
hey.
He
I
went
think
there.
legally, when you mention cows on a show, you have to make a joke using the word udder. That's just the rules. I didn't make them up. I don't write the rules, obviously, but when the rules come at me, I bring it. I bring it. I bring the
Well, for
udder.
obeying the rules, you get a pat on the head.
I would like a bite
Yeah.
coin. I'd rather a bite coin than a
Oh,
pat
fair
on the
enough.
head. Oh, a
That's
pat
fair.
on the head like a
Yeah,
cow
see?
pat.
Like a cow
Oh,
pat. That's where we
bring it
went.
in. Bring it in
That's
the
where we
other one.
went.
That's the
Oh,
other
it's
joke
very
we forgot.
good.
Let's
Well,
not milk it. Let's not milk it. Let's not milk it.
oh, okay. He's there. He's there. He's there.
Uh-huh.
Right, now look, we got to stop chewing the cud. I know you've.
Did you say something about a bull?
Well, I'm sorry. I was going to say I'm sorry to hear about your calf muscle. What were you doing? What did you do to pull your calf muscle?
Oh, I did that really stupid thing that some grown-ups do sometimes, which is exercise. Like when you're
Oh, I see.
when you run around, you're young, it's just called running around chasing a ball. But
Mm.
then I decided I'd play tennis, and I was playing tennis against some of the oldest people I know, and they were still beating me. They were very old,
Oh,
and they were still very. The thing is, people forget that even though when you get older, you get slower, you get more cunning. So they would hit the ball in a way that I would twist my body and I would turn quickly, or actually I would just turn. But in my mind, I was going very quickly, and then while my body was turning, my leg was not catching up at all. And my leg was like, I'm not going to turn. I'm really sorry.
yeah.
But by the time the message got to my brain, my body had turned and my body was like, leg, I really need you to turn. And the leg was like, I'm not coming. I'm not coming. It was like that thing where you're all like, what do you want to do? I want to go to the park. I want to go over here. Like the body's like, yeah, let's all go. And the leg is the part of the group that's at the back going, I'm going to go and get a milkshake. And you're like, don't get a milkshake now, come
Oh.
with me now, because if you stay here, oh, that's really awful now, because you've torn the group apart, you've ripped my calf muscle, and I can't do. I'm no
You
good
see,
to
this is the
anyone.
thing, though. Is you're playing against people that are older and wiser, and they you now
It was
know
like
that
playing
next time
against
you
three
play against someone
Gandalfs. It was
younger,
like I was playing against three Gandalfs. Imagine three
that's it.
wizards.
Yeah.
That was it. I mean, just
The,
every now and again, they just did something with the racket. And I was like, I don't think you. I didn't see the ball hit the racket, but you hit it, and it's gone past me. So I think you wizarded. You wizarded it. You didn't even whiz
but
it past. You
But that's what I was
wizarded
going to
it.
say is, like whenever you see like wizards and whenever you see like sort of ancient beings or sorcerers on, they're always ancient. They've always been around for a long time. So you got to be careful playing them in games like tennis because they will use magic. They will sort of like, I'm amazed one of them didn't like make a zombie come out the ground just to hit the ball back so that they could go and have a cup of tea. Like you've got to be careful. But then you're going to learn these tricks, and then when you play against someone younger, like one of our listeners, sort of at some point, maybe you'll be able to use their powers because you've learned since.
It's funny you've just pointed out that there's never all the wizards are always old. I just figured out that you're right. There's never a young wizard and there's never
Mm.
a baby wizard. And I feel like that's wrong. I feel like there needs to be younger wizards. And I feel like the older wizards is just it's a bit of a cabal. And they're sort of like, we're not going to give any power to
Mm.
the young ones. Because if they get wizard powers, then it's it. That's it. It's all over. It's a bit selfish, I'll be honest with you. It's a bit
It
like,
is selfish.
I'm
But I
not
mean,
saying
but we
older
know
people
about
are.
visiting schools, and so I presume that you've just got to, that, it takes a long time to get. It's a bit like doctors, isn't it? To be a doctor, you've got to train for at least 70 or 80 years. I think that's how it works. And I think
Yeah,
with
you know what
wizards
the
as well,
problem
you've
the
got to
problem
learn
with
everything.
doctors as well is that they're the exact opposite. All the young people have the doctoring powers, and all the old doctors become things called consultants, and they just disappear from the hospitals and and
Yes.
and make lots of money. And if there's anyone who has a
But
parent who's a consultant, I'm sure they're very nice.
well, as you just mentioned, they disappear. Why? Probably wizards. So, it's, I mean, it all comes around. It's,
And some people say they don't believe in wizards, and I tell you, they're the first to go. They're the first. There's never, as soon as you say there's no wizards, like they just go, you're off the list. You're just off the list. You're going to the Nothing There festival next year. That's all you're going to. You'll never get to see the
wow.
Wizard Festival, which is the great one. You get to see the Nothing There festival. How's that?
Wow, which is pretty harsh to you. I mean, considering just how well you've done with the nothing that I didn't realize wizards were your enemy, but then I suppose if you're playing tennis against them, they're going to
They
have
weren't
to
until today,
find
and
ways to.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry if I sound slightly angry or peeved, but my calf muscle really hurts. It really
Oh
hurts.
no.
Even sitting here, I'm like, more, more. It's really yeah. So pain always makes you a bit cranky,
Yeah.
and lack of
That's
sleep.
that's very fair. That's very fair. You have to sort of probably. I mean, have you thought about just riding a calf into the next tennis match instead of using your calf muscle? Like you could have a sort of steed, like a small cow, and then you could play tennis riding around, just so you don't have to use your own calves.
I mean, as well, also, it would be much easier to try and get cream and strawberries for the interval. That'd be easier. Like if you had
Yes,
yeah, that's
so
quite
much
nice.
easier.
And
Yeah.
I think the distraction of having a calf on a tennis court would, I mean, I would love that. I would definitely
Mm.
serve that up, and I would smash that answer right back in their face. That's a lot of tennis references there.
I like it. I like it.
But
Yeah.
I think riding a calf. I mean, I'm sure that's against a rule. I'm sure there's a rule. There's a
Probably
rule
is,
in
but
tennis that
it's
says,
the
you know,
rules in
it
tennis
says
that ruin
you
it.
can't cross the line, you can't jump over the net, and you can't bring a cow on the tennis court because that's bad sportsmanship.
It's my big problem with tennis. It's my big problem with a lot of sports in that you can't bring a cow onto the field. I think that always ruins a lot more sports. Would be interesting if you could just bring a variety of animals onto the field as well. But also generally just all these rules, they make it very stuffy. And I feel like it's time for a new game, a new version of tennis where instead of using a racket, you could use a baguette, or you know, instead of using a net, you could have a large angry alligator in the middle, or you know, just different ways of making it more fun. I think.
I'm not sure if the angry alligator thing would make it more fun. I think that would be less. I mean, especially like you'd be looking at the angry alligator going, "Oh, first of all, why are you angry? Like you're an alligator. You're at a tennis match. You're at Wimbledon. You know, there's a lot of nice things to eat around Wimbledon. You know, if you're an alligator at a tennis match, you should be enjoying yourself. I mean, if you're an alligator and you're in the middle of a tennis match and you're angry, there's something wrong with you. There's just something.
Yeah.
Like you've obviously been like you've got maybe I don't know, a sore tooth or something like that, and you go to a dentist, and dentists are actually the people who could have been wizards, but they turned out to be very boring and just like teeth instead of magic. People who like teeth instead of magic become dentists instead of wizards.
What kind of weirdo like teeth instead of magic? Hey,
I mean, really?
No, I'd like to look at your teeth. What a weirdo.
Who dedicates their lives to looking at like the thing in your mouth? I mean, that's just wrong. Why? Yeah, I mean, they're eventually going to go the way of the tongue doctor. I mean, look. Hey, here comes the tongue doctor. You don't hear that anymore because there's no tongue doctors left, because everyone went, you're just looking at something into someone's mouth. That's just weird.
Yeah,
and the teeth thing, like we could just eventually look, they're fine. You could just don't eat so much sugar, they won't rot out, you'll be fine. But yeah, dentists, not wizards, not dentists. That's my next campaign. Wizards, not dentists.
It's a very important. It's a very important campaign, and I will definitely add my signature to the petition when that gets going. Well, look, Keith, I'm so pleased you come and do the podcast, Keith, despite your aching calf. And I've got to check with you before. We've got a lot of questions that I need you to answer, and I've got you on the show today because I know you're going to be particularly good at answering these questions. That's why I came to you. But before I get to them, I need to just double check that this is an audio podcast. It's for people to listen to with their ears. Hopefully, some people might listen with their knees. I don't know. I don't want to discriminate depending on how people like to listen to things. But it is audio podcast, and so I just wondered if you had a favourite noise that you could give us for today's episode. I should just check with the listeners. It is Keith that's still there. Chewbacca hasn't joined the podcast, but that is your Wookiee impression, which is incredible.
I'm just going to do that for the rest of the show. That's all. You're going to have to interpret exactly what I'm saying.
I was just going to ask that the fact that you can do the noise so well. Do you know what they're saying in when Wookiees do speak? Because I always find that bit quite hard. Like when a Wookiee goes, and I always think, does he need the loo? Does he want a sandwich? I don't, but can you translate it? Wow. Wow. Well, there you go.
I mean, obviously, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. That was unfair, really, unless you speak, that's from the lower dialect of Kashyyyk. The island or the island of the Wookiees, the planet of the Wookiees. How silly of me. Island of the Wookiees, where they live is so big because they're Wookiees and they're big and they need a lot of space because they hit their heads on things. It's the island of the Wookiees.
I always just think the
island of the Wookiees
must have it must take so long to brush your hair in the morning if you're a Wookiee because you've got to brush your entire body.
I think that Wookiees have probably developed, like they've evolved over time, that their hair is just the right length all the time. The hair gets to a certain point and then it never grows any further. And I mean, and then eventually when they get older, like the gray hair comes in and that's it, but just enough gray hair that it looks old, but not too undignified. And they've sort of, Wookiees have been around so long. I mean, they're so bored with words, they just use noises. And it's just, we should all be doing that, really. When anybody comes to you, like, and you're sitting in class and the teacher says, okay, now let's go to the next chapter of Shakespeare, and it's Romeo and Juliet. And what do they say? I mean, I'd read that. I would. I mean, that's a fantastic version of Shakespeare. To be or not to, that is the question. It would make it so much more fun if you did the Wookiee version, and you'd never be wrong. You do the exam and they'd say to you, what did Othello say and blah blah blah, and you go, and then they'd be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds right, because most people wouldn't understand what you're doing anyway. I mean, you could just sort of. Can I try something?
If I do an intro, could you do the noise, because I just want to test and see if this would make something better, right? So, for example, if I go dun 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 dun, here is the news. Yeah, that's so much better than the news, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
The news can be quite miserable, but if the news was just that, if the news was all in Wookiee,
especially if you go for the upper sort of pitches of the Wookiee. I mean, you don't want to try it again, and I'll give you the lower pitches of the Wookiee. Try it again. Okay. Bad news. Here's bad news from a Wookiee.
Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Here is the news. Oh no!
You know what I mean? Like you got to go, and you're like, today humanity won. We won. What did you win? We don't know. We just won. Everyone on the planet won something. How's that for a day at the races? That's fantastic. I'd love that. That'd be great.
I would love to win things. Much.
Everyone loves winning things. I think that you're right. I think Wookiee and everything equals better. It does. So
add that to your petition. I think more things in Wookiee. Yeah, wizards, not dentists. I mean,
wizards, not dentists, and we've got Wookiees plus everything equals better.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Keith. Fantastic noise. And the other thing I have to ask you is, of course, this is a family-friendly show. It's for people of all possible ages. Any age you can think of. Give me an age.
7.
Yeah, suitable for 7-year-olds. Give me another age.
8.
Or yes, also suitable
11?
for them. It's close. Yeah, I mean that one as
4?
well. I mean, basically any age you can think of is suitable for that. It's suitable for every possible age.
185. A wizard who's 185.
Oh no, not a no. You've added the wizard. Oh, I didn't think about that. It's suitable 185-year-olds, but I wouldn't say wizard. Wizards probably shouldn't listen. But better that a wizard listens to this rather than a dentist. So.
Oh no, there's no dentist listening to this. There's just not. We can say what we like about them. Really.
That's fine.
The tooth hurts. They can't handle the tooth. That's right. They can't handle the tooth. Yeah.
Right. Well, so that is suitable for all ages, and so I just have to make sure that you know that. And I wondered if you can tell us a rude word that you won't be saying for the duration of this show.
Hone. I won't be saying hone. That's an Irish word. It's a Gaelic word. I won't be saying hone. I won't be saying hone for it's hone. THOFADA-IN, hone. Because I didn't point out at any stage. Normally the first thing I say to anyone is I'm from Ireland, so that they because otherwise they're asking, oh, where's his accent from? And now I've done the whole Wookiee thing. They're like, oh, maybe he is a Wookiee. That's interesting. But hone is an ancient Gaelic word, and it's very important to Irish people. So hone, THOFADA-IN.
So it's very important to Irish people, but you won't be saying it because it's still too.
No, I can't say it. If I say it, we'll be cancelled. Like the show will be cancelled. Okay. Like there'll be all sorts of from people who don't like the word hone, but I like the word hone, so I'll just say it.
Okay, but don't.
Is that okay?
Please don't say hone. Yeah.
Oh no, I won't be saying it. Absolutely,
you won't be saying it. I know you said you like saying it, but you won't be saying it for this.
No.
Okay, great. Well, I won't say hone either. I wouldn't dare.
So, hone.
Yeah. Oh no.
Hone. It's what Santa Claus says when he gets a little, when he sort of comes over to Ireland, he goes hone.
I love it. Well, I won't say it. You won't say it. Thank you for that, Keith. Thank you for respecting our rules on this show. And now listen, we've got a lot of questions. We've had Carlo, who is from Beverly, and he's put MA. So I don't know if he's just like that's his ma. Or maybe his ma's called Beverly. I'm not sure. I mean, Beverly Ma. I
Is
mean,
that not a way?
could
Is that not is that not in Americans? Is that not how you write American states? MA, like
I,
Massachusetts. I
yeah,
can
but you
never
see,
say the word. I can never say the word Massachusetts right because it's such a. There's so many S's and T's and C's. Like it just goes on and on and on, and it's
yeah.
like and
Do you think that's why they spell it
Massachusetts.
MA? Because they're like, oh, just you know what it is. I can't be
Yeah,
bothered
yeah,
to
yeah,
add all the other
yeah,
S's and stuff.
yeah.
It's just ma, ma.
Yeah, it
I'm
just
in
goes
ma.
That's the rest
Yeah,
of it. That's the easiest way to say
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But yeah, Massachusetts, which is in America and is very big. It's just so Beverly. Maybe it's not Beverly MA. I mean, it's maybe it's short for something. My abode. My
Oh,
abode.
Beverly in my
Yeah,
abode. Yeah,
Beverly. I
Beverly
mean,
in a
Beverly.
massive
It's not.
armpit. Could
It's
be in
not
a
Beverly
massive armpit.
Hills. It's
No,
Beverly. What's the opposite of a hill that's got M and A in
Beverly
it?
Mills.
Beverly
Beverly,
Mills, Beverly
Beverly,
Mills,
Beverly
Beverly
Miles.
Malls, Beverly
Yeah,
Malls, maybe it was.
yeah. It's tricky.
Beverly Marble, but he's in Beverly anyway, so he's in
Yeah,
Beverly
he's in Beverly, so
MA.
that's fine. That's fine. That's what
Yeah.
we know. And he's also put, I'm actually a 0.0001 second old kid, which, I mean, if that is true, he's done very well typing us so many questions and fiercely intelligent. I wonder just what he'll be able to do when he's. I mean, actually, he also sent this several months ago, so he'll be a bit older now.
Say that
He'll
again.
be
He's
several
point
seconds.
zero 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 one second old.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, that's what he's put in his email. He said, Beverly MA, and I'm actually a 0.0001 second old kid.
I wonder has that got something to do with like the leap year and like because he was born on the
Oh,
28th of
yeah.
February, like that he's only had one birthday and he was born just after like the 29th. And then I don't know, the Mercury moved into retrograde and the stars aligned in a different way, and he sort of traveled through time and space
Forever, just that
very quickly
old, yeah.
as a 0.0001. I mean, that'd be quite the like the birthday cake to get. Happy birthday 0.000001 candles, like just having that really small candle. It would basically be the wick. Like if it was your birthday and you were like, and you were having a candle on a cake, you'd have a wick and that would burn and that would be the end, which would be kind of sad because you wouldn't even get to blow it out.
Because also you'd probably melt your cake. You'd be like, let's light the candle. Oh no, the cake's on fire. That'd be really, and you wouldn't. And then you have no cake.
Where have you been buying your cakes that they catch fire? I mean, everyone else has cakes that just have icing and sponge, and you're the only person in the world that goes to the flammable cake department and asks for a cake that's covered
coal and wood,
in wood and oil and I like my oil cake, please, and covered in petrol. And sorry, we're actually giving out instructions right now as to how to make the most flammable cake in the world.
Yeah, don't. If you are listening to this, don't make an oil cake. Not least because it tastes disgusting, and it's very hard to serve in slices. Absolutely. It just sort of goes everywhere when you try and slice it, and you're like, should I eat it with a spoon? You can't. You have to sort of. Yeah, it's very tricky. I wouldn't advise it anyway. I mean, I think you might be right, Keith, in that is perhaps how it's worked. That he's just been trapped at that age due to the time that he was born. I like to think that he's actually just that old, and as soon as he was born as a baby, he decided to listen to all episodes of our podcast, and then needed to ask us questions. That's what I like to think.
That would be quite a lot to happen in the hospital, I'd have to say. I'd have to say, as soon as that would be a lot of equipment that his parents would have had to bring along. Going, here's the phone and the headphones, and here's a translation of everything so that you understand in baby, and you can now write something really quickly. That's a lot to be asking of a newborn, I have to say. I mean,
it is, but I'm glad they did because if anything, it means he listens to the show, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that as a newborn, he's got to learn to do things like see and poo and all those sort of other things he needs to eat, and but I appreciate that he put those aside and said, no, I'm going to listen to radio nonsense. That's got to be my priority.
You gotta hope that he develops the ability to see after he's done the poo, so he doesn't do a poo and then he's looking at it going, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. You know what I mean? You want the poo to be just pushed back a little bit and sort of go, you know what? I'll do the poo later. I'll just wait. I'll keep my eyes like sort of moly little eyes, and that'll be fine.
He's got a lot coming up, really. Actually, I mean, now you sort of point it out. Is that poor Carlo in Beverly Beverly Mills. It's a lot coming up. I mean, no wonder he's got so many questions as well, being that old. I mean, it's probably a
But
lot.
also
That
with
he
the
needs to
name that
know.
cool. I mean, all the other babies around him must be like, oh, Carlo the baby. All right.
Yeah.
It's such a cool name. It's
a
Carlo.
very cool
Actually,
name.
Carlo's also a county in Ireland, and it's not a cool county. It's not.
Oh.
Carlo's not a great county. I shouldn't say that really in case there's anyone from Carlo listening, but I've been there, and like I have a friend who comes from a place called Bagnallstown, and it sounds like Bageltown, and Bageltown would be amazing. Like I'd go to Bageltown.
Yeah, I'd go to
I mean, I go to
Bageltown,
Bageltown every day, but Bagnallstown, you're sort of like, it's a bag of nails town. Is that where it comes from?
Yeah.
Bag of nails.
Well, it sounds
town?
like they've made a bagel wrong. Like, can I have a bagel? Sorry, I've only made a bagnall. So it went wrong. I've made a
No,
bagnall.
when you ask for a bagel, you get a bag of nails. You're like, this town is not for me, sir. This town is no longer for me. I do not enjoy this bag of nails town you have. But Carlo, in terms of just being a cool name, is great. Carlo the county, I'm not a huge fan. If there's anyone from Carlo listening, I'm so sorry. I am from a county.
Do they say
Cork.
Do they say hone there? Do they say hone in? Oh no, sorry, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say.
You can't say hone.
But
Can't
do
say
they?
hone. Can't
But
say
do
hone,
they
hone.
say that in
Hone,
Carlo?
hone, 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 hone. Green
would they say it in
giant.
Carlo?
Hone, hone, hone.
It's a reference there for all the kids listening. Do you would they say hone in Carlo, even though I can't say hone and you can't say hone?
Yeah, they'd say hone in Carlo. They say a lot of hone in Carlo. Carlo is the hone of Ireland. It has to be said.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Everyone around Carlo be looking at Carlo going hone, hone, hone. But not Carlo, Carlo the boy. Obviously we're not saying that to you, Carlo.
Yes, of course not. Of course not.
Cool.
Although he's only 0.0001 second old, so he won't have a clue what it means anyway.
Blows my mind. Blows my mind.
Me too. But this is the kind of podcast we get. We get emails from all people of all ages you can possibly imagine, as I mentioned before. So, look, Keith, Carlo's asked. I'm going to just check this 3, 4, 5 questions, which is a bit much, really. I do sort of say send in your questions, and I perhaps should specify how many. But
how many questions did he send? How many?
5.
5.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think we can rattle through. I think a lot of these have got quite quick answers. I think I asked you to do this because I know you know the answers to these things, so I think we'll get.
Are you saying I should do it quickly so that I don't waste everyone's time with long answers that nobody likes? I just do this one, bang. Yeah.
No. God, I think goodness, I think you should do the answers that I think you should definitely do the answers no one likes. I think that's important. Only say the things that everyone listening to this will go, no. That's the worst thing I've ever heard.
Oh no, Wookiee! He's ruined the Wookiee for me. No,
that's it.
And everyone then at home when they hear my answers will go, and then you get to make the noise. That's it. That's how it works.
Yeah, so I think that's what I think the most. But I want you to do the answers that also are true. The answers to be true, which a lot of people don't like. As you mentioned, dentists can't handle the tooth. As you said, but people here can't handle the truth isn't always nice. And I think these questions.
Yeah, they don't know
the
dentists don't know the drill. They just don't know the drill.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! He just can't stop.
I pay them lip service. That's all I do.
I think we need to put a cap on these jokes. So, my goodness, brace yourselves now. Right. So Keith, I think we'll take them one at a time, or should I read them all out at once really quickly and then we answer them all at the same time? What would be the
I nearly said what would be the safest way to do this, as if there's a health and safety issue here, that if you don't read them in the proper order at the proper speed, that one of us might injure his other calf muscle, because I can't even sit properly without hurting a limb of some sort. So I think as the professional host of the podcaster, you do it in a way that you think will get the best results with the least amount of injuries possible. Because I think the last thing Carlo ever wanted was for someone to get hurt by a question. That's not what he's looking for.
Okay, well, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on me now, but I'm gonna opt for the one at a time rather than read. I think if I read them all in one go very fast, I think it could cause an injury. So let's go. We'll start.
And it'll ruin the surprise of the last question as well. The surprise of the last question is going to be so much fun because we don't know what the last question is. But if you read all the questions and go, oh yeah, we know what the last question is now, I'll have too much time to think about it. Whereas now it's like, here's a question, and then that's better. Yeah, I think you've opted for the correct way. Well done. Fantastic. And I should just say, as we're talking, all the lights have just gone out in my room, but the internet still seems to be working. So did you not do that yourself? I thought you turned off the lights yourself. Just
No.
for the quiz part, I thought you actually turn off the lights to create some atmosphere.
That would be
And I was
amazing,
like,
wouldn't it?
oh, that's very
No.
professional.
I
He's
don't
turned off
know.
the
I
lights.
don't know. But it's exciting. I'll just sit here and hope that I haven't got surrounded by wizards who've sort of taken away all the lights. But
Oh no,
maybe
they
they've
bring the
got
lights.
too
They bring the
angry
light.
that
They don't take the. Maybe a dentist
true.
has come in there.
Oh,
A
maybe
dentist
it's a
has tracked you
dentist.
down, and they've used their little drill to remove the light from the
Goodness.
room and the world. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
let's
Right.
let's have a
Well,
look
let's
at these
crack on, let's
questions,
crack on.
Carlo. Carlo's
Okay,
questions.
so question one. Question one from Carlo.
Carlo's
Why do
question
things
time.
melt when they get too hot?
Why do things melt when they get too hot?
Too hot. Yeah, it's a good question.
Okay, it is a good question. Let's break it down into three parts, Carlo. Let's take the first part. What is too hot? Just the right amount of hot is a cup of hot chocolate that you've left for 25 minutes. That's the right amount of hot.
Yes.
That's quite good. That's a nice hot. Too hot is a cup of hot chocolate that's literally been poured, just poured, chocolate, milk, cream, hot water. That's too hot. That's too hot. That is too hot. Thing is, though, that melts marshmallows. So why does the marshmallow melt? Because that's good. That is good. So that's melting because that's a good thing. So sometimes too hot is good, and you take something soft like a marshmallow, you throw it into hot chocolate, and it melts because you've done something good, and the universe is rewarding you with a little bit of sort of magic. It's like we're going to take heat, we're going to take a marshmallow, we're going to add them together, you're going to have the most amazing hot chocolate. That's one thing. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got lava from a volcano, and when you put anything in there, like if you drive a car into lava, it's going to melt because like a volcano is like a really angry mountain. It's like a mountain who's just been cranky for thousands of years, and you're just and the volcano is like constantly making noise, going, why is nobody paying attention to me? It's like a younger brother or sister who's like, just waking up in the morning going, anybody, hello, and you're like, oh, volcano, please just go back to sleep. Be dormant, volcano, just be dormant. That's what you should say to your little brother or sister. Be dormant. And the volcano's like, but you drive a car into that, and that's because that's just coming up from the center of the earth, which is really, when you think about it, it's quite scary that we live on a planet that at the very center of it is like this really, really, really angry, like hot, like core of things, and like every now and again it pops up out of the surface. It goes, oh, I'm here. So it's to remind you that you live on a planet that's really, really hot at the center of it. You should really behave yourself and not do anything too bad to the planet, like drill down into it or dig into it or do anything bad to it, because you know what, if you dig far enough you'll find a really hot molten thing. So it'll melt your car, it'll melt your Nintendo DX, DS. Who's got a Nintendo DS? Nintendo thing. You're what
Switch,
of the latest Nintendo words? Switch. Thank you. It'll melt you. Imagine you're having such a lovely day, and then a volcano appears and it melts your Nintendo Switch, and you're like, really? And it's just reminding you shouldn't dig too deep into the earth, because there's only one of them, and deep down there it's sort of like a reminder to say, don't dig too deep. It's just stay up there, stay on the level, and mind the planet. I think that's why things melt.
That is an incredible answer. Thank you. I mean, I just want to say that firstly, if you're listening to this and you are driving a car towards a volcano, don't. And also, I don't know if you should be driving a car because most of you are children. There's a whole lot of issues here. So just if you heard that and you heard Keith say about driving a car to a volcano and you thought that's what I'm doing, then maybe get out and do something else, because I think
also there's probably not a warning on the Nintendo Switch box not to play next to volcano. There's probably no warning on the box. There should be. Somebody's going to get hurt, but if you're playing a Nintendo Switch and you're next to a volcano, you need to pay more attention. That's all I'm going to say.
Don't play it there. I definitely at least go inside or walk a bit down the hill. The other thing I would say is it's a bit like, isn't it, like how when you eat something really warm, sometimes you have sort of releases that can be quite hot. Like if you have a really like tasty curry or something and you feel warm inside, like the center of the earth, inside you it's really warm, but then like some of your farts and burps can be quite hot as a result.
Genuinely, growing up in Ireland, I never had a curry. Not once. I didn't have a curry till I left Ireland, and I did not enjoy it because my body was not used to. This is the other thing. Why do things melt when they get too hot? As a warning not to eat it. So like when so lots of people like have eaten curries since they were very small, and that's fine. I respect that. That's fine. I have not. I was very, very much not young when I had my first curry, and I had it, and I very much regretted it because I melted. Like my insides melted, my eyes melted. There was tears running down my face. It was not a pretty sight at all. So sometimes when you have when things melt, just a little warning. Just don't come near this. Don't eat this. Yeah.
I always think that when I see like cheese melting on bread and it sort of goes, I'm so hard, I'm melting. I often think that's what I'm like. Like, you know, if I was sitting under a grill, which again, children, if you listen to this, don't sit under a grill. But if you were under a grill, if it was quite hot, like when I'm really warm, sometimes I just think, I can't do anything. I'm gonna lie here, like on a really sunny day when it's too warm. So
cheese is a lot. Cheese is a lot tastier than humans. I mean, it really is.
Yes.
I'm not saying that from personal experience, but I think scientifically they have found that cheese on bread is better than melted human on bread. That's definitely the case.
Yeah, I fully agree. Don't put people on bread. It's just not.
Yeah, especially under a toaster.
It really ruins a sandwich. Yeah, it really
does.
Toast. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think you answered that one pretty fully. I think pretty comprehensively. I don't think there's anything else to answer about that. I hope Carlo's happy. Also, at 0.001 second, he's not going to know anything else. So that's going to to be. Yeah. You know,
these are the greatest answers that Carlo's ever heard in his life. Like, because his life is 0.00001 seconds.
Exactly. So it doesn't. I mean, we could really just answer every question. We just and he'd still like walk away with something. So we would.
I might do that. I might do that from now on. Just burp.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see how you go. I think the next question. I think you'd feel you're doing yourself a disservice if you answer with that, because this question's quite big, it's quite important, and I know there's more to it than. But I'll leave it to you if that's what you feel is best. You're the expert here. So, Keith, the second question from Carlo is, why screws?
Burp.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I just felt like there was more.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's a very. That's a very. I mean, we could do an entire podcast on that question. In fact, there is a podcast called "Why Screws." You know, you know, and I think it all goes back to. I mean, it goes back to the previous question you should ask yourself is nails. What are they about? You know what I mean? So it's why screws, because just nails are just awful and they need hammers, and a screwdriver just sort of like, oh, screw, because you hammer a nail into a wall and that's it. It's done. You've made the mistake. You put a screw into a wall and you're like, oh, I've made a bit of a mistake. I can just turn the screw back and nobody will know I made a mistake. Screws are really good for if you make a mistake, which we all do, and nobody will notice. Once you make a mistake with a nail, that's it, I'm afraid. Yeah, I'd rather be a hammer than a nail. Yes, I would. I'd rather be a screw than a screwdriver. It just, it doesn't lend itself to songs, but it's still better than a nail, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the thing is, I suppose, why screws, why nails? It's all like, why do we have to put things in walls? Can't we just sort of leave everything on the floor? Wouldn't that be easier? Couldn't we just have everything falling over all the time?
Yeah, but I think I'd still rather, not have any nails anywhere.
Yeah, sure. Except on your fingers, you need those ones.
Oh yeah, you don't want to lose the nails in your fingers, because then you've just got a whole bunch of clown hands, just floppy clown hands if you've no nails, and that's that's disturbing. Yeah. Floppy,
so you need
floppy
screws
clown
because they're better than nails, but you need nails because they're better than clown hands, and I think that's sort of how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely something to take through your life. That's definitely a message. If you take anything away from today, that's what you take.
That and so, well, I mean, you I was going to say you nailed that one, but you didn't, because we don't like nails.
Hey!
So the next one, this is an interesting
one.
Wait,
why is there a hammerhead shark and not a nail shark? I don't understand. Anyway, maybe somebody can find that out for me. I have a question for Carlo. Carlo, find out for me. Why is there a hammerhead shark and not a nail-like shark?
There probably are nailhead sharks, but the hammerhead sharks sort of knock them all into the seabed, so we can't see them. And, they're probably all holding the seabed down.
Oh, that's quite good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's good.
More importantly, why isn't there a screwdriver head shark?
I got no answer for that. Got nothing. That's just maybe evolution will one day grant us a screwhead shark that like to be a screwdriver shark, and that will change the course of humanity. Maybe when there's a.
I hope so.
That's a lot to consider, really.
There's a lot. I mean, all of these are a lot to consider, Keith. And the next question, I think, as well, is going to. I mean, it's already blown my mind reading it, but it's going to blow yours, I think, when I read it out to you. This is question 3. Why did they name the computer mouse after the animal mouse?
Oh, well, actually,
What?
I know the actual answer to this because they developed the computer mouse in California in America. When they were developing, it was a very famous company who doesn't need any more advertising, quite frankly, who I won't name, who were developing the computer, and they needed something to sort of move around. And basically, what happened was the computer designer was living next to a zoo, and it was actually next to the elephant enclosure, and he noticed that this mouse kept scaring this elephant, and he thought, oh, I love the way that something small can scare something mighty, so why don't we take a little small thing here, the mouse that moves around the big screen, and it's quite powerful. Little mouse, big screen, we'll call the screen. This is the thing people don't know. Computer monitors weren't called computer monitors or screens. They used to be called elephants. And that's why the mouse would sort of like move around the elephant. But now we just call them screens and computer monitors, and it's really dull.
Wow.
You know, because you used to get elephants in all sorts of different shapes and colors, and you'd attach your keyboard to it, or mongoose as it used to be called. It used to be called a mongoose instead of a keyboard. So you'd attach your mongoose to the elephant, and then you'd move your mouse around, and you could work on some of your projects about other animals like seagulls.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, isn't it the case as well that were you, and again, I should advise listeners don't do this, but were you to grab a mouse by its head and sort of move it around on the floor, then somewhere an elephant would be opening files and, playing games. Isn't that normally how it works
Yeah, I mean, some people like to play like a lot of games on like really like, and there's a lot of like pressing the mouse, and I like it really annoys the mouse. Eventually when you go to sleep, the mouse just goes, you know what, I'm done. You've just been clicking my head like 20 times a minute. You're going like you're playing some sort of like kitchen game or something like that, Diner Dash. Like click, 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 and the mouse is just like, oh, I don't need to be here. I need to be somewhere else. And they leave.
Cheese.
The mouse retirement home where there's cheese melted.
It's a much better life.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I do feel sad they didn't go for some other animal. Like it'd be you have to use a computer mouse, but it would, like you said, that the mongoose would have been a good choice. The computer turtle would have been. I mean, probably slower. Obviously, probably would open your programs a bit slower than a computer mouse. A computer rabbit could be quite fun. I mean, there's lots of other. Oh, there you go. My lights have just come back.
The lights have come back on. The tension has left the quiz. The tension has left the quiz. It's now
I think
no
it's
longer
because you've
dark.
made me feel so enlightened with all your answers that
hopefully the dentist has also left the building as well and stopped messing around with the circuitry. Yeah.
I always like
the word armadillo, and I always feel like a mouse could have been called an armadillo. I would have loved to be clicking on the armadillo. Like where's my armadillo? Like it's just a great word. And
also armadillos look like they have clicky bits on them because their armor
that's
like
true.
You could go click, 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 and it would just sort of work like that.
You could especially if you were into sort of war games and things like that, you get like a really like camouflaged armadillo sort of thing, and you're like, what? That's crazy.
That's really good. Yeah, really good. I feel like they've really.
I might call it armadillo from now on. See if it catches on.
I think you should. I think we should again add it to your petitions because I think calling computer mice. It could be. Is it? If you have more than one computer mouse, are they computer mice or computer meeses?
Meese. Computer meese.
Computer meese, that's it.
Yeah.
So
goose, geese, mouse, moose, mice, meese.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. That's the old saying, isn't it?
So it is. Yeah. If you say that
fleece,
3 times fast, a witch
flies.
appears. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's it. Rice, Reese. There's lots. Yeah, there's lots that goes on there. Splice, please. Yeah, it's generally the rule.
Noose, niece.
Knees.
Niece. What's the plural of nieces? If you've got two nieces.
Nice.
Knees.
Nice. Two
nieces is nooses? Noses.
Niece.
Where's my niece? Where's my other niece? Where are the two nieces? Where's the two nieces?
Well, is it the same like if you've got a fleece, but you have more than one fleece, do you have a flies or a fleece?
You have a floose. I'd like to have a floose.
That's it.
I'd like to have a couple of floose. Where's my floose?
A couple of fleece, yeah.
Yeah, I've got a whole cupboard full of flooses. It's like it's like a cat in a hat book now. It's like floosy, fleecy, snoozy, sneezy, smooshy, smooshy,
meesy, micey,
hoody, 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 hood, and then the Swedish chef appears.
you know what Carlo is learning here is the basics of language, and that's going to really help him out.
Oh yeah, if
when he
Carlo's
gets
learning
to
the basics
even
of
more
language from us, he's ruined. He's like his life is ruined from now on. Like, I'm sorry, Carlo. Don't take anything we say seriously, please.
What are you talking about? You're answering these important. You're giving
Yeah,
serious
but
answers to these
yeah,
important
but not in
questions.
relation to grammar or syntax or how
Oh,
we put
sure.
together
No, that's
verbs
true.
and
He hasn't actually
not.
asked us any
Yeah,
questions about that, to be fair. So I don't
that's
feel
true.
like we can be held responsible for how he pronounces meeses in the future. So, right. Well, let's next question. Right, next question. This is again another bit. They're all pretty big questions. This is one I think a lot of people have been asking for a long time. Why are flats called flats if they're not flat? What?
Why are flats
Called
called
flats if they're
flats?
not flat.
They're not flat. Well, I'm sure one time they were flat, and then they had to be built. Like, so, I'm sure the first flats probably arrived in a flat pack and had to
Ah,
be
right.
assembled, and then they were called flats because they're out of their packets, so they're just, oh, what's this called? It's called a flat. Whoever named them probably wasn't like really working hard that day and was probably like distracted on their phones and not really paying attention to anyone. And somebody said, "What's it called?" And they just went, "It's a flat." And you're like, "Oh, you could have called it something more beautiful. You've all the words of the English language. You could have called it." You could have called it a singular palace. You could have called it a one-story, imaginarium. You could have called it any of these things, but it's like, oh, where do you live? Oh, it's a flat. Why? Because it's just it came out of a box and we put it together, and now it's a flat.
Boring.
It's a shame. They had so many words they could have used for that, but I think someone was distracted and just didn't give it 100%. So Carlo, always remember, give it 100%. If somebody asks you a question, really, really like think about it, do it properly. Yeah, that's all I'm
I
saying.
think that's a really good. I think also if you to draw a flat on a piece of paper, then it is flat. So that does help.
That's a yes, it does. I'm not sure if that's why it got its name though. But
No, probably not.
Yeah, that's probably like that's what happens after you see the flat. You draw it.
Yes.
Although no, I suppose you have plans for a flat. If you've plans for a flat, then they're on a piece of paper, and then you build the flat from the plans.
Yeah.
But then you
Well,
build
maybe
everything from plans. What about skyscrapers? I mean, why are they called skyscrapers? Like they never really scrape
Because
anything
they
out of the
specifically
sky.
take a little bit off. They do. They just take a little bit off the sky and then they sort of put it
I've
in a pot.
never seen that. Never.
Yeah,
I have
they
looked
do
at
it at night.
skyscrapers for so long. I've stared at them, waiting to see a little bit of the sky, like the way
They
you
know
scratch
you're
it.
watching. They won't do it when you're watching.
You know when you scratch the end of your bed, you scratch your name into your bed
Yeah.
so that one of your brother or sister doesn't go, "That's my bed," and you're like, "This is my bed," and you put your name into the bed, you scratch it in, you scrape in your name. I've never seen a skyscraper scrape its name into the sky. I would like to see that. When I see that, I will call them skyscrapers.
They won't do it when you're watching. I'm just saying they get very sort of nervous about it. They'll wait until you're not looking, then they'll do it because they don't like being judged. They just want to get on with their work and.
Well, then they're just waiting. Well, let's call them sky waiters. They're sky waiters. They're just waiting.
Okay.
They're waiting to scrape. So let's call them sky waiters.
All right, that's fine. Add that to your petitions as well. That's another one for the petitions, I think.
Wow. Right, so wizards, not dentists. Wookiees plus everything equals better. And
armadillos.
Armadillos instead of meeses.
And sky waiters. Yeah.
Sky waiters.
Right. Good. Now, Keith, we've got the very last question, which I won't add in. There's approximately 60 to 70 question marks and exclamation marks after this one. I won't add those in, but just know I'll try and do it in the pronunciation of this question for you. And this question is simply weather.
Wow, that was good. Yeah. That was good. That was like it's like you're at the fun fair and you hit a hammer and it has to ring the bell, and you rang about 20 of the question marks there, because that's a lot of question marks. So weather, and not as in WHETHE or whether or not I do this. It's weather as in skies, clouds, sunshine. But it's rain. I'm with you on that, Carlo. I grew up on an island off the coast of Ireland, and the weather, you couldn't even say the word weather because the rain would get into your mouth as you said the word weather. You couldn't see the weather because there was too much rain in your eyes. You couldn't hear the weather because there was rain in your ears. You couldn't actually leave the house for the rain and the flood. And it's funny when there's a lot of, there was a guy once built an ark, apparently, allegedly Noah built an ark, and he landed in Ireland, and he said, "Wow, this place is really wet," and he left. after seeing the floods all those years ago. He just said, "This place is too wet for me. I'm out of here." I used to sort of walk around with Wellington boots over my Wellington boots because that was how wet it was. Because my Wellington boots would be like, "Oh, it's so wet," and then they would let the water in because they were so just miserable. They were like, "I'm not defending you against the water anymore. I want my own Wellington boots." And then I'd have to get these bigger Wellington boots and I'd have to climb inside of those and walk through the water. And even the bigger Wellington boots, which were huge. I mean, it was like having clown feet, but wet. I'd be walking around and they'd be like, "Oh, we're cold and wet as well." But they were so big, the water couldn't quite get in, but it was close. I tell you, there were days when I thought the water was going to get up over it. I mean, the Wellington boots were pretty much up to my waist. They were up to my waist.
Wow.
I look like a half, like a Wellington robot and half human. That's what I look like.
Wow, the Duke of Wellington. You probably were. Isn't that? Yeah.
Didn't he have a song?
Yeah, I think he probably had a...
Did he march some people up a hill, or was that the Duke of York?
No, that's the Grand Old Duke of York. I think the Duke of Wellington just stomped in some puddles.
It's a shame the Duke of Wellington never got his own song, because the Duke of York, like everyone knows, like the Grand Old Duke of York, you know, he marched. Well, the Grand Old Duke of Wellington, oh, he didn't go out because it was too wet. I mean, that's not a great song. It's not a great song.
No, but it's an accurate song, isn't it? It's an accurate song. Well, Keith, I feel like you understood. Should we go for a yes or no answer with this? Is it simply a one-word weather? Yes or no?
No.
No. Yeah. I agree. I absolutely agree. You can add that to your petitions as well. No weather. No
weather. I'm done.
No weather.
Done with the weather.
Yeah,
I think we're all done with the weather.
We're all done with it. We've all had enough, Carlo, and that's one thing you definitely need to learn as you become 0.002 seconds old during the course of listening to this. Well, thank you, Keith. Thank you so much for your that was fantastic answers. I knew you were the person to come to with Carlo's questions. And let me guess, the rest of today you're just going to be resting your calf and other farmyard animals?
And obviously preparing for the Nothing There festival that's coming up very soon.
What sort of preparations have you got to do?
Well, I've got to find the right field to look at, you know. It's quite hard. Got to find the right field to look at. But yeah, I look forward to seeing none of you there ever.
Thanks, Keith. We'll catch you. Well, we won't catch you. We're not gonna turn up. We'll not see you there.
No one's there. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Jeff loves leaves.
Big thanking times to Keith Farnan for those many, many answers to those many, many questions. And I do hope Carlo and your Ma Beverly were very, very pleased with that. Keith tours a fantastic kids show around the UK called Kidocracy, so if you're in the UK, please keep your eyes out for that. Well, no, don't actually just look out for it, but it's much better if your eyes are in for those sorts of things. If anything, it's much harder to look for stuff if your eyes have gone out to the shops or whatever. What do eyes buy at the shops? Eyes cream, obviously. We do currently have a big pile of questions still to answer. Well, we did, but a small deer has just run off with them in the last few minutes, so now I'm going to have to get that back. How did he even get in? I must remember to lock that bit of air so it can't happen again. I will get them back though, and all your questions will be answered. But if you out there, yes, you have any more questions, do ask your droopy sigh mutterers, sorry grown-ups, to help you send them through to us at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. And also, if you enjoy this show, tell your friends to listen, tell your enemies to listen, because they might end up being much nicer once they know about computer meeses and things like that, and tell everyone you know all about radio nonsense, and then maybe eventually the people who keep charging straight through the podcast while I'm trying to record it, saying, but we're taking the dog for a walk, maybe they will hear it and they'll leave me alone. Right, I'm off to chase a question-stealing deer, but it's so slippy everywhere. Oh no! You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.